What do you say to concerns about how the ADC is preaching a new gospel, progressive, youth-oriented, but the people that are almost predetermined to be on the ballot for the ADC are people who have been in the system for decades and decades? What happens to new people taking charge of the ADC and heading to the ballot?
First, let me say that speaking as an insider, nobody has been predetermined to be on the ballots. One of the issues that we have been on since this discussion started over a year ago has been that you come into the meeting of the ADC or the coalition, for let me not say ADC because we started as a coalition. Keep your ambition, lock your ambition in your bedroom before you come. So it is just speculations and projections by people who already know that this person is there, has ambition to be a president, this person has ambition to be a senator. That is what people are projecting. ADC has not made any steps. We are not yet there to talk about elections. Our concern is to have a firm party on the ground, to educate the people on what they need and how they can participate better. We are interested in having a more informed followership so that they can hold elected officers to account. That is our interest. So we are not looking for personal interest. And nobody should think that people have been penciled down, you're going to be president, you're going to be this. No. Ambitions are there. But we are not allowed that to affect our planning.
Right. So when the 2023 presidential candidate of the ADC says the whole machination around the formation, around the coalition, was to present an Atiku presidency, he doesn't know what he's saying.
He doesn't know. I'm saying so because I'm inside. I'm at every point of what has been happening in the coalition. So I know. Those who are outside, let me tell you that there are some people who think that maybe now that you have actually a faction, the PDP, some people think maybe the ADC is a new baptismal name for that faction of the PDP. That is wrong. And by starting, we have shown that the national chairman nominee comes from the PDP. The national secretary nominee comes from the APC. So that is to send the message that nobody should think that because you have a faction or a party, then this new project is to rename that faction. No, it is an open, political project which involves everybody. I told you where we have been working on the coalition. So people who are not, who are outside are thinking of their own, miniature political structural understanding, which is wrong. But those who are from within, we tell you, if we ask them, that this is a huge political machinery which is open to everybody. And wherever we have tried to introduce it, we have called for caution to those who think they already have structures. Don't think we are bringing a new baptismal name for your structure. This is a new, project, and everybody is welcome on board. When we had our unveiling, the chairman was very clear. Who needs to be here? Those who can't afford 3 meals in a day, those who can't pay the children of the fees of their children in school, those who can't find, opportunities for medical treatment in hospital. That's where you belong, because these are the things we are trying to create. And maybe I should say too that there has been a lot of, speech about removing Tinubu as the main project. That's not the main project. If Tinubu were a good president, nobody would be talking about removing him. But certainly he's not a good president.
All right.
He has failed to, to put up what people thought mistakenly that he could do. Maybe his capacity is limited at a smaller level.
It was an uppercut from this ADC chieftain to Bola Tinubu. He says his capacity is limited to state level, not to federal level. And I hope with all the soundbite of good words that the chieftain is talking about, that the coalition, the ADC coalition, is not about a coalition to suit Atiku's presidency or ambition. I hope that's all true, but obviously with politicians, you cannot hold your breath, because if what he's saying is exactly what we want to take it to be, we will not have Kenneth Okonkwo and Dele Momodu already canvassing, for Atiku. blankly telling everybody that Atiku needs to be the flag bearer because he's coming from the north and maybe he has experience. And as the interviewer asked the chieftain, what do you say about Nigerians who are concerned that the ADC is just set up for one person's political ambition who's been there for donkey years? But before we break that further, I want to, share with you my idea of why I think that Bola Tinubu has really failed. You understand? And the guy said this. He said Bola Tinubu, he says Bola Tinubu is not a good president. And if Bola Tinubu was a good president, nobody would be thinking about removing him. I don't know if you agree with that. In essence, what the man is saying that Tinubu is not a good president, and that's why he will be removed in 2027. And he says Tinubu has failed, you know, in every area, in areas where people mistakenly thought that when they voted for him, he would excel in. And in essence, Tinubu has really failed, you know. So do you agree with him that Tinubu is not a good president? He's failed in everything. Because if you look at areas of the economy, the economic hardship Nigerians are faced with since this APC administration came in, following Buhari's administration, you would have to have to admit that yes, it's failed in the economy. If you look at insecurity in Nigeria, it's not been able to solve it. You know, despite all the promises or telling the his security apparatus to go and fix it, they've not been able to find solution to it. People are dying constantly. People are getting kidnapped. Nigeria has become a harbor for kingpins, banditry, kingpins who are just kidnapping people, asking for ransom. There are allegations of corruption and cronyism across the entire, Bola Tinubu administration or tower level. Recently, Deji Adeyanju went to the ICC, and he really, in his own statement, I can't really say it, verbatim, but in his own statement, he sort of, cried, felt so sorry for Nigeria in terms of how much Wike claimed they've used to actually renovate the International Conference Center, now renamed to Bola Tinubu International Conference Center. You know, so there's lack of transparency. There's no communication from his administration, even when Nigerians are killed. There's no transparency in the way contracts are awarded. Look at the Lagos to Calabar coastal road. You will see that there was no transparency, in the way they handle the contract. And that's one of many. And you can see their tendencies of, authoritarian-like tendencies that were faced with this current administration, and, election manipulation, the cabinet members are unpopular, just to name a few. The education system and healthcare system completely neglected. They just cannot find any bearing. So when you look at an administration in Bola Tinubu's administration that's so disconnected from Nigeria, you will tend to want to agree with this ADC chieftain to say, largely speaking, Bola Tinubu is not a good president, according to him, and that he has failed, which is why he's saying that Bola Tinubu will be removed in 2027. Now, as to the ADC not being a coalition to suit Atiku's ambition, this chieftain and the leaders of the ADC at this particular point in time needs to obviously recognize this. If you take Peter Obi out of way, ADC will crumble. The idea or the gravitation of Nigerians towards the ADC is because of Peter Obi at the moment. Obviously, still one leg in the ADC, one leg in the LP. But if you don't put him in, because at this particular point, first of all, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You can see the entire world is looking at him and saying, "What are you doing? That's the right person." And we're still having to have conversations every day whether or not Atiku will be the flag bearer, because our politicians, they can bribe and they're corrupt. So, and that Peter Obi would not give bribes. So you will want to lure the delegates to vote for him, and then he becomes the flag bearer. I'm talking about Atiku, if that's what's going to happen. So I'm hoping that this is not what is going to happen, like they actually allege happened in PDP. You understand? So there's a very serious stake here, and there's a lot of things are at stake in this 2027 and this ADC right now. If you're going to do exactly what Labour Party could not do, anchor together, put a person that everyone is gravitated towards right now, and Nigerians have actually hitched their hope on him to say, we think you can give us a process that will sustain the nation. Anyone thinking that Peter Obi will solve the Nigerian problem in 8 years is joking. You can't solve it in 4 years. You can't solve it in 8 years. but you can start to put the machinery in place, the processes, the system in place. That if there's a continuum, Nigeria will be on the right track to prosperity and greatness again. This is what we need. The reason why Nigeria was good in the early 60s or thereabout was because some people put the machinery in place. When you talk about Awolowo, Jakonde, and all of those, they put the system in place to make sure things work. Education work, healthcare work. But what we have are greedy politicians right now who are only looking out for themselves. That's why they're all running abroad for their own healthcare, whilst ours is failing. So I hope that this ADC chieftain understand the ramification of the statements he made here today. Because if it doesn't, and if there's any sense of corruption in the selection process, obviously Nigerians prefer Peter Obi for obvious reasons. If they don't do the right thing, ADC will fall and ADC will fail. And I can guarantee you, no matter how much you try, Atiku Abubakar will not get up to the last vote INEC allocated to him. You need to ban. That man needs to relax. I've done several videos on this. Atiku at 81 is not serving Nigeria but himself rather. So he needs to pipe back and lay back and let somebody else that's younger, carry on this load. And that because it requires a lot. There's a lot. Okay. So I don't know what you think about what I've said or what the ADC chieftain has said. So put your thoughts in the comment section. Let's have our deliberations. Don't forget to like, share. Please subscribe if you've not done so. And also recommend this channel to others. I will catch you up in the next video. God bless you. Bye-bye for now.